This is Listening with Franklin Livingston, and our guest is Margeaux Appleton.
When people see, in your case particularly, that you were attracted to all human beings, they develop some sort of uncomfortability. And I know it's the same case if you were a male, straight male, and you're in close connection with the female. Even if you message someone that you'd like to meet with them, their answer will be, I have a boyfriend. And there are jokes on that too, right? Or I'm in a relationship. Why is it that we start, like the first thing we think is sexual, romantic?
Yeah, I think it's like the sense of being uncomfortable, and that's like, I think that's just a very scary thing in the world, especially when it comes to like sexual assault and stuff at this moment in time. But like, it's better to be safe than sorry. I mean, I don't say stuff like that, but I have a partner, and whenever I meet someone new and they ask me to hang out, especially if it's like one-on-one, then I'm like, hey, just like I'm in a very serious relationship. If this had any intentions of, you know, wanting to be anything like that, that I just want to like.
So the fear is assault?
Yes. At least for me, and I'm speaking for me and the people I know and I'm close with, I know a lot of stuff about that, and especially as a woman hanging out alone with a man sometimes can get scary, just from blatant personal experience. So it's just like making sure you're the most comfortable you can be and trying to avoid situations that could happen.
So what about a phone combo or say some sort of video call? These days you have, every platform gives you a video call.
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram, I don't know what, TikTok, Snapchat. So the answer might be the same. Because say I text someone who is in California. This is hypothetical. And I say, how you doing? I saw your profile. It was really great. I'd like to connect with you. The answer might be, oh, thank you, but I have a boyfriend, right? First thing that person is thinking is the romantic relationship or sexual relationship. And if there's distance involved, the answer is the same. It's not even, I can't afford to fly to California to meet someone. But culturally, why? I always wondered.
I'm not sure. I think it's also just something in the fact of like, are you saying this in the sense of people who are saying that but are actually in relationships, or just use it as a...
I don't know. But I think that's a very common answer.
I do as well, but I know at least for me, the reason I bring it up is just to make sure that in case any intentions were anything like that, because you don't know, but I would hate to be texting a guy who seemed friendly and then him think it was more. It's the last thing I would ever want to happen, because I'm in a very happy relationship and I care about my partner. So at least the reason I do stuff like that is more so making sure my partner is comfortable, being like, oh, just letting you know, like, this person who I don't know reached out to me. I don't know what they want yet. It could be very genuine and nice, but unfortunately, especially through social media, a lot of times it always isn't, and a lot of times it's more of interest or being like, oh, you're like hot, oh this, oh that, like, and those are things, if I'm in a relationship, I don't want people saying those things about me in that sense, like, and I'm not going to entertain that. So I know that I mention that a lot of times up front just to make it clear, just so that it can't be misconstrued. Someone can't assume, like, because I would hate for that to happen if anyone assumed I wasn't in a relationship. I'd feel bad, and I'd feel guilty a little bit, because I would never want to, I would never want anyone to think I was interested in them when I'm in such a happy, committed, loving relationship with my partner. Like, it's just in that sense that it's more of a, like, I do it more so as a precautionary, but also, like, 9 out of 10 times, people are like, oh, okay, whatever then, and don't talk to me again.
So, yeah, with the same thing, what you mentioned earlier, that when somebody gets to know that you might be interested in females, males, it doesn't matter who, it might make them, or it makes them, I think you said, uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Why aren't they thinking you'd be just interested in a sexual part of your life or their life?
Because a lot of times that's what people reach out for. They reach out to, like, spark something a lot of times, especially through social media based on attraction. Because social media, I mean, you can see kind of people's personalities through social media, but not really, and not always. You don't know the person, you know. So if someone reaches out on my Instagram, unless they're reaching out being like, hey, I saw you wearing something, I love it, can I know where it's from? Unless it's like a pointed question. I mean, I've had stuff like that being like, oh my gosh, where you were at looks so cool, can you give me the name of that restaurant? I have no issue responding to guys' messages like that. Like, of course. Or if someone asks what I'm wearing, or like where I was, or anything of the sort. Oh my goodness, I need to sneeze.
Bless you. It's okay.
Anything of the sort, like, that's totally fine. But if someone just says, like, hey, if someone's reaching out to you without, like, a specific, if someone reaches out to you without a reason, it's 99% of the time because they felt some attraction towards me. Or wanted that. Or attraction to me. I don't think attraction is something you can just physical, but it's like, they were like, oh, I like the way she looks, I'm going to reach out to her. And a lot of times, that's why I say...
being attracted to your images.
Yeah, and if I say, like, I have a partner and someone's like, oh, cool, wasn't reaching out for that, you just seem super cool. There are multiple people who have done that I've become really good friends with.
But when do you think people get threatened from you? And say these are women, right? You mentioned that one of the things about your identity when you tell them I'm pansexual, it makes them, oh.
Yeah, not everyone will. I'm very lucky. I'm a performing arts major, and I surround myself with a lot of like-minded people with similar views and a lot of people with different sexualities, so it's not as much of a struggle anymore as it was when it's, like, to a group, like, back home. Not necessarily, like, my group where I grew up, because they were, again, like-minded people, but, you know, going in front of my class, and if someone found out I was pansexual, they'd be like, oh, what does that mean? And then there have been times I've tried to talk to someone, and they're like, oh, just want to make sure, like, you like girls, you don't have a crush on me, right? Because, like, I've gotten the I have a boyfriend text from people being like, oh my gosh, like, hey, thinking I remember, like, knew someone from somewhere, they're like, oh, I have a boyfriend. I was like, yeah, cool. I totally was not interested in you that way. If you're comfortable, like, still talking, I had something I wanted to share, but if not, like, you know, I understand that. But I have gotten that response before when I've reached out to people because I am queer, and that's something that some people are uncomfortable with. And I've also gotten almost the opposite from some guys being like, oh, are you queer? And they say it in obviously not quite as nice terms a lot of times, but they say some things and they're like, oh, well, like, I would never want to date someone like that. I'm like, well, we weren't dating, nor did we ever talk about dating. It's just like a way to, like, almost make themselves feel better about, you know, not getting what they want. And some guys are very insecure about that. Insecure about finding interest or finding partnership in someone who's queer because they are attracted to multiple genders. And some guys can get, from personal experience, some guys can get kind of upset and territorial about that and be like, oh, I don't want you to hang out with your friends who are girls because you might like them just the same as, you know, if it was with guys. But it's different. It's more so, it's just kind of like weird and like a trust thing. It's when you're in a relationship, you can have any sort of friends, but obviously if a vibe is wrong or someone gives energy that seems like they're coming on to you, then whatever gender that friend is, they shouldn't be a part of your life if you have a partner in that sense, or if you talk to them. But I think it's definitely something I've been like, oh, and one of my first relationships, I'm queer, and I hung out with one of my friends who was also queer. He was like, I feel like you're gonna cheat on me. I was like, what, with my friend since diapers? With like one of my best friends who I've known since I moved to Massachusetts? And they were like, yeah, but it's like you're attracted to girls. And I was like, yeah, but like I do the same thing with another friend of mine, Jack. And he's like, well, he's not attracted to girls. And I was like, what does that have to do with us being friends? I'm like, can a guy be friends with a girl without like being attracted to her and wanting to date her? And he was like, well, obviously. And I was like, so why can't I be friends with girls and not want to date them either? You know, I think it's just not everyone assumes that. I feel like not everyone assumes immediately that they like. Sorry, I'm trying to find the words to properly convey what I'm trying to say. But social media, if you're reached out to on social media, it's a lot more often than not because of some sort of attraction. When, like, if you just meet in a class or have something in common, like, you can be friends with someone. It's just easy to be able to, like, put that boundary down on social media just to make sure it doesn't get out of hand. There was a situation I was in one time where I was texting a friend of mine or someone who was, like, lived in my neighborhood, and then I started getting threats from his girlfriend. And I was like, we literally live down the street from each other. I was asking him a question, but like I should have been more clear. And I understand how people can get like about that, but that's why like when I'm in a relationship, I like to just nip it in the bud and be like, hey, I have a partner. If that was any reason for your intentions for this, I don't know if it's a great idea. But if someone's like, no, I just want to like you just seemed really cool and I wanted to reach out, I would never not talk to someone because of it. I think it's just a little safety net, and I think it's also a safety net for girls sometimes getting approached in places they don't want to be approached, getting approached when they're out, and especially I've noticed the I have a boyfriend thing when not used on social media is only used if provoked. Like if one of my, or especially for my friends who are single, for my friends who are in relationships, obviously if someone's like, can I buy you a drink? They're like, no, I'm in a relationship, they're actually in a relationship, then that's one thing. But I feel like there are times where my friends will be single, will go out to a bar and someone will approach them and they'll be like in the middle of a conversation with me and it'll be someone who's not very nice and seems like pushy and is like, okay, like steps in front of me and I'm like, you know, me and my friend are having a conversation. So my friend's like, no, I'm not interested. And then the person comes back. Hey, buy your drink, let me do that, blah, 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 blah. And then she's like, okay, well, I have a boyfriend. Because it's just an easy way. Honestly, the guys like feel wounded when sometimes, especially in those like public like bar settings, when a girl turns them down and says they have a boyfriend, they're like, oh, I can't, like, you know, that was like a very obvious I don't want to speak to you sign, which can happen. It's just, I think, very circumstantial and very much so different on social media than it is in real life.
Right. I think what has happened is, this is my take on all of this. People coming from traditionally opposite genders striking up a conversation, and right away thinking whether somebody who questions or the answers, the other one who answers, thinking this has to do with dating, this has to do with sexuality, and this has to do with a romantic relationship.
I don't know.
Is the norm now.
Is it? Yeah, I think for me, it's more so like, I'm attracted to everyone when I have and I mean, even like things in a relationship, you can acknowledge that people are attractive. That has nothing, the difference between attractiveness and like attraction and stuff like that. And it's kind of like, I don't know, before like when I would talk to someone, I'd be like, in my head, everyone's gonna be like, oh, they're attractive. I think they're attractive, but that's not like,
I think there's a complimenting thing. If you are attracted to someone, say you're passing through an airport, you talk to a person there who's there for, say, changing your seats or something. You are in transit, you have to change plane, you talk to somebody at a desk, and you say, your eyes are very beautiful, as an example. This is
Mhm.
hypothetically. I wouldn't do that in the US, but
Yeah.
so you say that they receive a compliment, they talk to you and tell you, ask you a couple of questions, tell you it was really nice, whatever, and you move on.
Yeah.
That's an attraction toward a physical thing.
Yeah, and that's a compliment out of genuine, like, nicety. I think another big part of that is, like, the reason that's so prominent in, like, talking to people or, like, thinking there's some attraction behind it is because of just the way of our world right now and somehow some people in power speak about women
Mm-hmm.
and speak about women from an attractiveness standpoint a lot. And it's like, I, can be attracted to 10 bajillion people. Everyone is. Everyone, thinks people are attractive or thinks something is pretty. There's nothing wrong with that.
It becomes wrong when it has been misused by
Yeah, and
some
it
people.
becomes wrong when it then
Horrible.
becomes, like, intentional, or if, like, there's a difference between, like, I don't know, you can be in a relationship and still be like, oh my god, your outfit is awesome, and that doesn't mean that I'm in love with this person and gonna leave my partner for them. It just means genuinely I think their outfit is awesome. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's
Right.
hard because sometimes it's easy to misconstrue things, especially with, like, the way of our world right now and how prevalent assault is in general and how that comes to be a lot of times with a general, like, compliment, and then if you don't receive that compliment well, they can get angry, and it's also like,
It's not a new norm.
No.
Because of all those things. And
It's
then
just-
the problem I see with that is, first of all, everybody, then the beginning point, the starting point about your thought process is sexualized. Because of all this.
Because
so right
all
away,
this, and
if
it's
I'm
hard.
gonna tell her this thing or him, they're going to think, oh, he wants to get into my pants.
Because it's hard not
Or
to
he
when there is
wants
so
to-
much of it prevalent and so much assault prevalent. It's like, it's hard to tell when's the one step that's going to take it too close, and now you've invited something in unintentionally. And I think that's the big thing is, like, with people sometimes having trouble with what no means and, like, general just, like, swivels away from things. It's become more of a, like, tiptoey thing.
Mhm.
And it's just,
yeah. So how does it affect the broader communal life?
I think everyone's just more careful.
Yeah, I think it's more than careful. It's almost impossible to strike up a conversation anymore. So we have limited, for example, you talked about bars. There are tons of people who don't go to bars, right? Because now there's a thing that you go to a bar to meet someone, and that meet has to do romantic. You don't go to a bar to meet someone who's going to guide you how to invest in the Wall Street.
I feel like that's changed a little bit with the use of, like, dating apps and social media and platforms, that, like, bars have now become a little bit more of, like, I don't know if I've ever gone to a bar to meet someone, even when I was single. I think I went to bars with my friends to have fun, and if you meet someone and feel romantically inclined, then that's one thing, but it's not, like, the reason for going anymore. Like, I am in a relationship when I go to bars and clubs and parties with my friends because I want to go and have a good time with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
And when I go to those things, I still talk to everyone who's there. And if anything feels weird or feels suggestive at all, then I back away from it. But I'm not going to just stand in the corner and not talk to anyone, because it could be misconstrued as attraction if I'm talking to another human being because I'm attracted to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's not the case, and my partner knows that's not the case, and most people would know that was not the case, because you can still interact with people.
But my point was the places, the places have either stigma or they have some sort of identity. You go to a bar, and I'm generalizing, and also it changes a little bit from what generation.
Mm-hmm.
There might be generation that doesn't care about apps, right?
Absolutely.
And they use bar differently. then the idea is that you don't go to a bar to do somebody's counseling, right? And that's why these, or you go to a bar in the evening. You don't go to a bar to have breakfast.
Mhm.
So all these things end up becoming norm, and that norms a lot of times is not in alignment with the faith-based principles or themes.
Yes.
And it goes back to the same idea that can a man and a woman uh, become friends easily just because if one of them thinks the other person might receive help or need help. Like if you are the one, this is
Mhm.
just, you could be anyone. You're the one who has a lot of questions and you think so and so might be a good person to just engage in a conversation about senses or religion or whatever. Now, there's always that fear. We use the term fear here that what if he or she begins to like me? What if he or she already has crush on? What if he thinks that I have crush on him? What if she thinks? So that idea of sexual, and it's not sexuality, I was going to use, it's something different because we all are sexual beings.
Yeah, absolutely.
People have always been sexual beings.
It's just like human needs and societal norms as
Yeah.
well, and societal pressures.
This is a narrative came to my mind. Abraham,
Mhm.
the father of all monotheistic religions, which still fights. So Abraham, we
Yes.
read in the Old Testament, is standing at the gate of his house.
Mhm.
I don't know how big the gate is. Probably it's not a northeast New England house. It might be larger,
Yes.
like California. And there are three men who were passing by.
Mhm.
And he says, "Hey, how you doing? Do you want to come in because you look like travelers? And do you want to come in and have a meal?" No, until that point, he did not know who they were. Later on, we read that they were angels in disguise or something,
Mhm.
right? Divine figures.
Yes.
But that interaction, just imagine, can we do that in today's world? I think it would be very difficult.
It would be very difficult, but not impossible. And I think it also truly depends on where in the world and what the circumstances. That's such a tough question. Like, I think it depends on the circumstance of the situation and the location. Like, there are definitely a lot of ways in which that could happen in today's world, but it's finding the circumstances for when that is possible and everything that
Yeah,
contributes
everything
to
is
it being
possible.
a
But
thing.
the reason I was this narrative came to my mind was because of this idea of being uncomfortable,
Mhm.
and especially when the starting point is sexual. It's not even assault. I didn't even go to that direction.
Just
The idea, I think there is one more thing here that's being vulnerable. Right away, when people think of romance or dating, it's like opening up,
yes.
which is harder. And I think it has always been harder, but now it is even harder.
Opening up and knowing that you'll be accepted and taken in and not taken advantage of. It's such a fine line between like how and at what speed do I open up to another person, because it is hard to be vulnerable. It's always been hard to be vulnerable, but even more so now with everything going on, and how strong people's opinions are. If you are vulnerable, you can get swayed or you can get pushed, and that's like
Absolutely.
gotta
The
be careful.
opinions, yeah. And I think people I know, uh, I always heard, be, I don't want to get judged. Don't want to be in that situation where somebody thinks I'm fat or I am greedy or like these are minor things.
Yeah.
But you can have, you can even eat with a bunch of strangers, go to an event. But when it comes to dating and all that, right away, like, oh my God, I
I
shouldn't
don't want to
eat
eat in
a
front of them. Yeah,
hamburger. And
that's a big stigma of
right.
like. It's also the stigma of like, at least from my perspective, like what should a woman be? What should a lady be in certain circumstances. I think the eating thing specifically is one thing that, like, women are supposed to be in people's minds sometimes dainty and very, like, gentle and soft and picked like a mouse, and that's not the reality. It's just like, press societal norms and incorrect
And I think it
information.
goes both ways.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just only speaking on the
Right,
side because personal
Right.
experience with that I would not touch on.
Because it reminds me, I know someone who has worked with as an actor in tons of projects, without giving his name, and he was sharing. I really, really respect him, and I really think it was great of him to open up. He said, "Oh, I think I'm going to join such and such group and lose some weight." I said, "Why?" Because he is now a little over 30 and he doesn't have success in his romantic life. Now, my encouragement was it has nothing to do with first of all, you are not overweight like crazy. Secondly, you live in Brooklyn. Reading. It's, we were talking about, like, it's difficult to make friends in New York City then early morning when we were talking about this. And then there are some financial limitations. A lot of people expect, at least people I know, you to have certain kind of amount. So if you want to go out with them, then you gotta have like a couple of $100. If you want to add a couple of wine glasses and entrees, and it's expensive city, right? So I said, a person who's gonna like you don't have to, like, he shared a couple of things. You don't have to spend a lot of money or just like become a skinny guy. You have a great personality because you are thoughtful, you listen, you focus. In your own way, you are very handsome. There will be people who won't like you because that's not the type.
How skinny and fit and rich you are, there are still people who will not like you.
Right, exactly.
And a lot of times it's going to be the person there's always a thing of, like, wanting what you can't have.
Right.
Someone who doesn't want
Absolutely.
you makes it more attractive to you sometimes, because...
Yeah. So whoever is going to like you, if you take them somewhere and stand there and buy, I think that it changed until a few years ago, there was a 99-cent pizza place all over Manhattan. You can go there, you can treat them to that slice of pizza, and they'd like you. Because of who you are, your company, the way you'll treat them, the way you will open and be open and be vulnerable.
I think it's also about setting, like, realistic expectations. Like, if you're going to go out with someone, like, you can even say, like, hey, let's go out for pizza, and not like, oh, I'm going to take you to this really nice, I'm going to do all this stuff for you and then get them a size big. That's what, like...
You get the answer right away. I've tried that. Look, this is funny. To me, it was funny. So I've learned, so if it's an app, if somebody says, what's an ideal date for you? So my reply is usually, a leisurely walk at the Hudson River, or I don't know, it depends. But I signal that I'm not going to buy an expensive dinner, and usually I don't hear back from people.
Because some people... That's important to some people. That's a value for some people for whatever reason, because of how they was raised, whatever reason it is. Some people value the little luxuries, which is okay, and people can value that, but it doesn't mean that everyone has to. Like, I don't think you need to spend a lot of money on your partner, but no, I know, like, me and my partner, I love when he takes me out to, like, a fancy date, just because it's, like, thought and effort and, like, but not just because he's throwing money around.
And just to add, you guys are in a relationship.
Yes.
I'm talking about when you are
but
just...
even, like, the first date, like, anything like that, it's just, I think it also just depends on, like, what you're looking for and the reality of what other people are looking for, because it's not always going to line up. I mean, even on our first date, like, we had a great first date. We went out, got chicken fingers, and took a walk, and just drove around and listened to music. And it was perfect, because he was awesome, and I cared about him, and I love him, and, like, it's amazing. But I never was someone who needed to be wined and dined up front. And if someone said, like, I want to take you out and do all this stuff, I would have been like, oh, on a first date, like, that's kind of like, ooh, that's kind of crazy. Like, I don't need all that. Like, the luxuries are nice, but it's never been something I've needed, especially not at the beginning of anything or if it's a one-time thing. But there are some people, I have friends who only go out with people if they have a little bit more money because that's what they want and that's important to them. And I'm like, you know what? I understand that, but I have to understand that people aren't going to be able to accommodate that. Just like, you know, if you don't have the money to take someone out like that, there are going to be plenty of people who are going to agree and love that, but there are also going to be plenty of people who want that and you can't give that, and that's fine. It's just a conflict of interest, you know. And I don't know if it's necessarily like the person themselves, but at least the friends I have who care about the money stuff, it's like mostly about the money stuff. Or right now they're in a vein where they like to be wined and dined, they like to be taken out and have money spent on them, and that's great. And these people who they find love to do that. You know, I love to be pampered a little bit by my partner. He does so many special things for me, but I don't need like money just thrown at me. That's never something I've ever wanted. And I also like, at least personally, I'm very big on like, we each pay for dates. Like I take him on fancy dates too sometimes. I get him nice gifts, like, because that's important to me. I like the little luxuries as like treats, but I've never been someone who was a big like money is a problem or money is an important thing. But I do know people who are, so it's kind of weird to like, I grew up around people like that, so I kind of understand it, but that would never be me. So it's just kind of like, you have to understand there's going to be a conflict of interest in that kind of stuff. But plenty of people who will also love whatever it is you like or want to do.